Uh, I need to blow my nose. Um, Played by Amber Sharday Robinson, in the AMC series Hell on Wheels. Catch that shit on Netflix. Common, the rapper, he's in that show. Um, Her name is Mary Fields. On the show, she shows up like in season 4, but her role is really cool. And I didn't know she was a real person necessarily. Or maybe I did, I don't know. But I follow the show Timeless, which I used to review episodes on this podcast. But there's this other, so on that one, there's sometimes they share people in history. I got blocked from them today though, because on the post that they said like they're all sad about Prince Harry or who the fuck, and I put a post where it was a quote of him saying that if he died, he want to be reincarnated as a virus that can help depopulate the world, and overpopulation is a lie. I'm gonna say that here. I've probably said it before. We are overcrowded in major cities. A lot of empty land is privately owned. We're overcrowded for a reason. It's designed that way to make us think we're overpopulated. But really, they just think of the Hunger Games. Less people, the more you can control them. Anyway, Mary Fields, aka Stagecoach Mary, was the first melanated female star route mail carrier in the United States. She was born 1832. She died in 1914. And I was like, well, what the fuck is a star route? And I was like, oh, is that one of the dangerous routes? And I guess it pretty much is, because she had to carry guns. Prior to so I did a little research on star routes. Prior to 1845, transportation of inland mail, so mail inland, other than by railroad, was given to bidders who offered stage or coach service. This was abolished by Act of Congress on March 3rd, 1845. Right? And Mary Field was she wasn't even 10 years. She was 13 years old at that time, which provided that the Postmaster General should lease all such contracts to the lowest bidder who tendered sufficient guarantee of faithful performance without any conditions except to provide for due celerity, clarity, certainty. I don't know. I wrote this very fast. Anyway, certainty and serenity. Oh, security of transportation. These bids became known as clarity, certainty, and security bids. It's clarity. But I don't know why in one of them I wrote celerity. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. Anyway, and were designated on the route registers by 3 stars, thus becoming known as star routes. So these routes were given to people. These routes were given to people that just whoever could do it. So that's what star routes are. She was born in slavery in Hickman County, Tennessee. After the Civil War ended, she was emancipated and found work as a chambermaid on board the Robert E. Lee of Mississippi steamboat. Now, I started writing down yesterday synchronicities in words, because sometimes I'm reading at the same time simultaneously I'm listening to something. and I'll read a word like open. I wrote them down over here. It was 4 words, that synchronized words, that as I wrote them or read them, I also heard them on a podcast or something. Open. I think I was writing or reading open, and then it also heard it. Foundation, stage, and carried. Now those words can be coincidence. It could just be showing me that it's synchronized. I'm synchronized with the universe. And it's hard to remember sometimes. But we are all synchronized with the universe. Anyway, the reason I said that, because I said Robert E. Lee, and I was listening to Bobby Lee, and his name is Robert Lee, and there's a whole joke about him making he's an Asian Robert E. Lee in the Civil War, which would be hilarious. All right, so she got a job on after the Civil War, she got a job on the boat, a Mississippi steamboat, as a chambermaid. There, on the boat, she met Judge Edmund Dunn and ended up working in his household as a servant. When Dunn's wife was done, or dead, he sent Mary and his late wife's 5 children to live with his sister, Mother Mary Amadeus, in Toledo, Ohio, where she was Mother Superior of an Ursuline convent. Which I don't know what Ursuline, but a convent, she was a nun. In 1884, Mother Amadeus was sent to Montana Territory to establish a school for Native American girls at St. Peter's Mission, west of Cascade. So Montana is because on Hell on Wheels, Hell on Wheels is about the Pacific Railroad and the Union Pacific. I don't know. Two different railroads. One started on the East Coast, one started on the West Coast, and there was a race to meet in the middle. Whoever made it to the middle first got they were gonna get paid more. They were gonna own more of the stops or some shit. And it's a real story. There was a lot of corruption. There was chaos. It's a really good series. Hell on Wheels. So anyway, they in like season 3 or 4, they go to Wyoming, and the series just gets better and better, in my opinion. She went to take care of to nurse Amadeus back to health, and Field stayed at St. Peter's. Amadeus recovered, so she saved the life of the nun, and she stayed there at the church or the school or whatever the fuck they were at. She relegated multiple duties regarded as man's work at the time, such as maintenance, repairs, fetching supplies, which I assume is like driving to the store and getting wood or something, laundry and gardening. So laundry used to be man's work. It still is. It's anybody's work. Hauling freight, growing vegetables, tending to the chickens, and repairing buildings. And eventually she became the forewoman, like a foreman. She was the forewoman, which, obviously was a kind of like not a regular. Most women weren't doing that, right? Obviously, if you know anything about history. or society. Crazy enough, the Native Americans called Mary White Crow because they said that she acted like a white woman but had black skin. So I'm curious as to what that means. Those Native Americans would have got canceled. Life in the nunnery was placid, but Mary's hearty temperament and habitual profanity, I mean, she cussed a lot. Sorry, I'm just having like an allergy attack. Made the religious community very uncomfortable. In 1894, so 10 years after Mother Amadeus was sent to Montana to create the school for girls, for Native American girls, also after several complaints and an incident that Stagecoach Mary had with a disgruntled male subordinate that involved gunplay. So he was pissed off or something because he had to do something, and he probably like threatened to shoot her. And I imagine her being like, "No, I'm not fucking scared," and they were probably like shooting each other or something. The bishop there barred her from the convent, and Fields moved to Cascade, where she opened a tavern. But the tavern waned due to allowing the cash poor, excuse me, to dine free, and it closed to bankruptcy 10 months later. So far she's successful and she has some failures, but she's still learning. As we all do. We all gotta fuck up sometimes. But everything happens for a reason and she'll learn. Because she didn't fuck up, really. So by 1895, she was 60 years old. I'm back. I'm back. See how this goes. I took some of this. Alright. So she was 60. She secured a job as a star route carrier, which we went over, which used a stagecoach to deliver mail in the unforgiving weather in rocky terrain of Montana. With the help of nearby Ursuline nuns who relied on Mary for help at their mission, this made her the first, according to the article, it says the first African-American woman. Now, I'm just going to say melanated American woman. To work for the U.S. Post. She's the first one. True to her fearless demeanor, she carried multiple firearms, most notably a .38 Smith & Wesson, under her apron to protect herself and the mail from wolves, fucking thieves, fucking bandits. And she drove the road with horses and a mule named Moses. Gangster. She's a fucking gangster. She never missed a day of work, and her reliability earned her the nickname Stagecoach Mary. If the snow were too deep for the horses, Mary delivered the mail on snowshoes, carrying the sacks on her shoulders. This lady is older than 60 years old. It says later life, she's still Catholic. She stayed Catholic, but preferred the company and activities of local men to the sisters and their religious trappings. So she kicked it with dudes because they do shit, which is all good. It's cool. She was a well-respected public figure in Cascade, and the town closed its schools to celebrate her birthday every year. When Montana passed a law forbidding women to enter saloons, which is like bars, the mayor of Cascade granted her an exemption. In 1903, at 71 years old, she retired from the post service. The townspeople's admiration for her was evident when her home was rebuilt by volunteers after it caught fire in 1912. She continued to babysit many Cascade kids and owned and operated a laundry service from her home. She died in 1914 at Columbus Hospital in Great Falls, and her funeral was one of the largest the town had ever seen. She was buried outside of Cascade. Man. Stagecoach Mary. A G through and through. And they represent her very well in the show, Hell on Wheels. So, thank you for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. I love y'all.